This video is going to be controversial. I'm talking about ghosting in dating, why people ghost, and how best to deal with it, and how to maybe see ghosting as a good thing. When it comes to ghosting, anywhere from 40 to 80% of people say they've been ghosted in a romantic relationship. Two reasons for the discrepancy between 40 and 80%. One, how do you define what ghosting is? And two, if you've had multiple relationships, the likelihood goes up that you've ever been ghosted. It depends on how you ask the question. We use the word ghosting liberally these days. People say, my boyfriend ghosted me when he didn't return a text, or that employer ghosted me when they didn't follow up on my resume. But ghosting wasn't intended to be used for simply not responding immediately or for relationships with strangers. Ghosting first originated in the early 2000s. It describes the practice of ceasing all communication and contact with a partner without any apparent warning or justification. Poof, just like Casper the Ghost. And even if you reach out to this person, they ignore your texts or calls. And ghosting is on the rise, attributed to the increased use of social media and online dating apps. Regardless of the stats, we all know ghosting hurts. You wait by the phone for a text that never comes, and it's hard not to take it personally. You feel duped, stupid, and angry. The next question is there a certain type of person more likely to ghost? The people more likely to ghost are those who fear conflict and have poor communication skills. These are the people I call low expressive types. On my love style quiz, they say that they have trouble speaking up and being vulnerable. And according to my data, from over 40,000 people, approximately 46% of them are the low expressive types. And this type of person can lack courage. So that's the who, but what's the why? Why did they ghost you? It's one of the most common questions I get asked. The best answer is because they could, and beneath that, they decided that your relationship was not for them. Why they ghosted you is because they didn't see a future with you. Let me give you an example of how easy this happens. Say you've been hanging out for quite a while with a person and you're excited about them, you're attracted to them, you think that things are going great. You both talk about the things you want in life. And on your last date, you go a little deeper. You say, someday I want to have kids. It's your truth, right? You do want to have kids someday. They ask you about previous relationships, so you tell them about your ex who was unavailable because they worked too much. And at the end of your date, they say, hey, I had fun. We ought to do this again sometime. But then after you leave, they start to process. Maybe I'm kind of like that ex of hers. I work a lot too. And did she say she wanted kids? Oh my God, I'm not ready for that. Sure enough, poof, they forget that they even said that you ought to hang out again. Now they've determined that you're not right for each other, and they ghost you because they don't have the courage to tell you directly. And two, with this new information, they suddenly decided you're not a fit. And there's nothing you can do to convince them otherwise. Now, if you ask people who have been ghosted, 80 to 90% say they would rather know the truth. Only 10 to 20% say spare me the details. And if you ask people themselves if they've ever ghosted anybody else, only 25% say that they have. But here's how people justify ghosting to themselves. Take, for example, I have a favorite Italian restaurant, and I go there all the time. But then a shiny new Vietnamese restaurant opens up across the street. Do I really need to go tell the Italian restaurant and say, hey, just FYI, I won't be coming here as frequently? You don't think to tell the Italian restaurant, nor do you tell the person that it's over. People convince themselves it's better to say nothing. They don't want to see you cry or be upset. They simply move on. And if this is you and you've done the ghosting, you convince yourself, again, better to say nothing than to say something. But here's a way to help you look at ghosting differently, because there are two pieces, right? There's them and then there's you. First, look at their piece of the lack of communication. Take the person that you were dating. They did mean well, but later they did change their mind. And maybe they grew up in a home where they became low expressive. Their family told them to push their feelings under the rug, and they never learned to have difficult conversations. They fear conflict. They don't know how much you care about them. So maybe they'll say, she wasn't really into me either. And it doesn't cross their mind to talk to you about it, to talk about the fact that you're in different places. And like the Italian restaurant, they just move on. They might even worry that you will disagree and try to talk them into it. And what if you did? What if they said, hey, I worry that you need more? And you say, oh no, I don't want more. I'm really independent. But this wouldn't be your authentic truth either. And you might even try to hide it because you have some underlying shame or you worry that you might be too needy. But you would be lying and pretending to be a cool girl. And if you've been following me for any time, you know I cannot advocate for that, because not being authentic at the start is sure to backfire in the end. Okay, what about your piece? Can you see ghosting as a good thing? Because no one wants to be in a relationship with someone who's not into them. And you do deserve better. Not only someone who can communicate better, but someone who cares for you the way you care for them. What people hate about ghosting is the lack of closure. If you think about it, what is closure? Because closure isn't feedback. After a significant relationship, you just want to know that what happened between you was real, that you didn't make it up in your head. Closure is knowing that the person misses you, that they're hurting and they feel like they've lost you, and that they're losing sleep over it just like you. But not getting closure can feel like never knowing. You have to create your own closure. Because otherwise you go and you stalk them and you look at their social media looking for clues. And at least if they look sad, it'll feel like validation to you that you mattered. But this type of closure is you waiting on them again. While it's hard, I get it. It's time to take your power back. And in cognitive therapy, it's called reframing. You take your old negative thought and replace it with a more neutral thought. Take, for example, you've dated someone for months and they ghost you. Your thought is, I deserve better. That thought, I don't want to argue you out of, because that is true. But underneath that thought, there's probably another negative thought. Maybe the next thought is, I'm too much, or I'm not good enough. These are the thoughts that tap into your bigger fears. What if this happens again? What if I invest in the next person and poof, they're going to disappear again on me? You start to take these things personally, and your thoughts about being too much or not good enough also stem from your childhood, because you didn't develop those thoughts in a vacuum. The way to reframe your thoughts is to see the error in your thinking, and you're taking things personally and you're catastrophizing. You have to get rational with yourself. Ask yourself, what is the evidence? What's the evidence? What's too much? Is asking for a boyfriend that listens to you too much? The process of reframing is about moving into more rational thoughts and taking things less personally. And do you have any evidence that you're not good enough? You've been good enough for other partners. Remember your last boyfriend who thought you were the bomb? But in dating, you're not going to be a fit for everyone, and they won't be a fit for you either. When they said they weren't ready, believe them, because they're still exploring themselves. They don't know their purpose or their vision, and they're searching. It's not about you. And remember, the low expressive person doesn't magically become a better communicator with the next partner either. But reframe ghosting this way. They're not a good communicator, and they simply knew earlier than you that it wasn't going to work. In summary, ghosting can happen, but it's not always going to happen. Pay attention to the person you're dating too. Do they have good communication skills? How do they handle conflict? Try to trust the process, that if it's going to work, it's going to need to be right for both of you. But focus on you and what you can control. You do deserve someone who's a better fit for you. Keep looking until you find them. How do you feel about thinking about ghosting this way? Leave me a comment in the section below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks.